When you first use a countersink, it's like magic. Screws are sitting below the surface, wood's not splitting, it's incredible. And then you find out there's something called a stop collar, and that's like a whole new ball game. I still remember the first time I saw one on Mark Spagnola, the Wood Whisperer's channel, and was like, what is that? I bought one immediately. And I've tried every countersink over the years, and they all frustrate me for one reason or another. When we launched the Katz-Moses Jig Square, one of the most common comments on that video was, what countersink are you using? That's when I knew that I had to tackle my frustrations with the modern countersink and see if I could solve them. So today, I'm so excited to announce something we've been working on for a long time, the Katz-Moses Tool-less Countersink. No more looking for Allen keys, no slipping collars, no fiddling with depths that aren't repeatable. Today, I'm gonna show you how it works, the problems it solves, why it is just simply incredible, and leaves every other countersink in the dust. All countersinks on the market, except for one, which we'll talk about in a second, require an Allen key to adjust. And that creates a bunch of problems, right? One is it takes two hands to adjust. And of course, it's never gonna lock down the same way twice. It's really hard to get these a certain depth. And if you're up on a ladder, installing cabinets under a table or something, you're gonna have to stop and go find your Allen key and adjust it. And that just really is a pain in the ass. You can't make quick adjustments on the fly. Also, a good countersink needs to have a great stop collar. It means it needs to not mar your wood, it needs to spin freely and stop under load. This was the countersink I was using in the Jig Square video that everyone was asking about, and it uses just a ring to spin and change the depth. But the problem is that's not lockable, which means that it likes to take a dive sometimes. If debris gets stuck in here and freezes up the stop collar, it'll spin this, or if you bump it on something while it's spinning, it can change the depth, which will obviously affect your accuracy when you're trying to flush up screws. It does have a actual ball bearing in it though, which is nice. This thing does spin freely, which brings me to my next problem. Let's talk about the two leading countersinks on the market. This is the Amana, it's about 50 bucks. The replacements are 26 to 30, and it uses a thrust bearing to cut costs. It's unshielded, it is not lubricated. One side rubs on this soft anodized aluminum cover, which means that it's gonna wear out. In fact, here's one that I've had for a couple years and it's completely seized up. So I had to stop using this one. And this one's brand new, bought it for this video, and it doesn't spin very well. Let me show you what that looks like. So as you can see, all these balls are frozen in there, and then of course, because it's not shielded, it's gonna collect dirt, and then it's got this big wear ring in here where it was just rubbing and not spinning. So of course, that's something that's gonna wear out. And then this is the Festool, which arguably has a very sturdy looking cutter, better than most of these, but they take a different approach on this stop collar. It's plastic and they use a brass bushing, so there's no bearing whatsoever. So that very clearly could wear out pretty easily. Regardless, I mean, it seems decent enough, but when these break, dull, or chip on both the Amana and the Festool, you have to replace the whole thing, which can get expensive for the lifetime of these tools. So let's talk about how we solved these frustrations and all the cool features of ours, because it has some tricks up its sleeves like nothing else you've seen. So how do we address these frustrations I had and make a countersink that's not only one-hand operation, the most indexable on the market, and it's a non-consumable. It's a super high quality tool. Well, the secret is in this locking magnetic ring, and this is what we filed the patent on. You just pull this ring up and the body spins, adjusting the depth of the countersink. Now, what's super cool about that is this is a 28 thread per inch shaft, which means we know exactly how much it moves. Each revolution is going to be a 32nd or about a millimeter in depth change, and then it has 10 indexable stops on it. And you can see there's 10 indices on the body, and then there's indices on the shaft, which I'll show you how it works here in a minute, but I have a chart with those depths and how to easily put in screws and kind of know what you're going for here. This pulls out, and you can adjust it. Very micro adjustable because each of the 10 stops is 1/320th of an inch or 0.1 millimeter. This is one that we used in production. We use it to drill countersunk holes for the universal table saw jig supports. And this has drilled 6,000 holes. I pulled it off the drill piss just to show you how well this is working. And that's because the body can be disassembled and cleaned, and then the parts are replaceable individually. So check this out. The countersink just screws into here. It also is a 4/28 thread if you want to replace it with countersinks on the market, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And then you can just pull the ring up, and the body comes out. And then you can clean all this, you can lubricate the threads, and that's gonna keep it lasting for years, and it's gonna spin freely, and it's not gonna wear out, and it's gonna give you tons and tons of life, which is so cool. Briefly, before I show you some really cool demos with this and how I use it, I just wanna tell you really quickly, the 3/8 inch, which is the most common size, number 6 to number 10 screws, that's what we use most of the time in carpentry, is available and shipping now. The additional sizes, which is a 1/4 inch cutter with a 2mm drill bit or a 1/2 inch cutter with a 3.5mm drill bit, they are on pre-sale, but they'll be here in about 6 to 8 weeks. I am gonna give you the opportunity to buy them, and we'll split up your order and ship it in 2 different batches. But I wanted you to be able to grab extra cutters now because, you know, with these, they're gonna go really fast. Check out these drill bits. We custom make all this stuff. So it's all designed for this system. We're not just getting cheap stuff off the shelf. We're custom making all of this, brazing the carbide and custom shaping these drill bits. So without further ado, let me show you some cool shit with this and show you how it works. You use it a couple ways. One, for flushing screws. And I'm gonna show you a cool exercise here in a minute. The sizes of the countersinks are 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2 inch. So 3/8 being the one that is in stock now, the other 2 are on pre-sale. And because of the indices and the super adjustability, there'll be a chart that I have in the instruction manual which shows you kind of the very close rough depth that you can go for flushing up the screws. And so let's say I wanted to do a number 8 here. I like to put the indices towards me, but I'll put them towards you because there's a camera, and you can just adjust it one-handed like this. And I know that 5 big lines is going to be just about perfect for a number 8 screw. There we go. I'm going to drill a hole. And see how it stops perfectly like that? It means it's not going to mar the wood. We have perfect depth there. And I'm just going to go ahead and shoot this screw just like that, perfectly flush. Now, of course, we can do it for plugs, which again is all the way in, super easy to adjust. Just like that, we're locked in, and then we're gonna go ahead and just like that. We're gonna put our screw in, and we put it in the bench. Whoops. All right, so let's go cut a plug. All right, we're gonna go ahead and cut some plugs with these super awesome plug cutters. They come in 3/8 and 1/2, but not 1/4 inch. I'll link them down below, but watch this. Like, you've never cut plugs that clean. That is awesome. And we're just gonna pop that out with a screwdriver and glue it in over at the bench. All right, so now I'm gonna do a time lapse where I do every single one of these screws, number 2 through 16, including trim head screws. We'll also do number 8 Torx screws, and it'll be about 18 to 20 screws in total, but I'm not gonna adjust them or test anything. It'll just be using the chart with the indices on the countersink, and I'm gonna get them all perfectly flush or pretty close. And so it's just to show you how fast and efficient this is and how cool it is and easy it is to adjust. We'll be using all 3 size countersinks, the 1/4 inch, the 3/8, and the 1/2 inch. We'll be putting in all these screws. All right, so in about 11 minutes and 13 seconds, I ran through all these screws, sinking them all perfectly flush without any test holes. I was just adjusting everything with the countersink using that chart I talked about, which I have how many big lines it is. So when you look at the indices, there's big ones and little ones. So I call the little ones half marks and the big ones full numbers. I did try and screw myself by doing these tiny little brass screws because you can only put those in with a screwdriver. Had to change 4 different drivers, and I think my battery started to die on number 16, but other than that, I mean, this is so easy to change the depth, and it's repeatable, it's indexable, and that's just never been done before. One other cool thing this does is it accepts other countersinks. So you loosen the retention nut for the drill bit, you remove this countersink just like so. And these are self-tightening. So you can put any 428 threaded countersink in here, which means this can act like a countersink for aluminum or steel. So if you're reaming out holes in aluminum or steel, you can use this to just get nice chamfers on the edges there. And like I said, it's self-tightening. So because of the direction of the threads, when you start drilling, that's gonna get real tight. So you don't have to worry about cranking down on that at all. So let's talk about a couple more things and we'll wrap this up. When I started this project, I didn't wanna just make another countersink. Just like all of our other tools that we develop, I wanted to solve the things that frustrated me, and I wanted to solve them in the best way possible. And I think we've delivered that. It's of course the only locking toolless countersink on the market, and it's gonna last a very, very long time. So I can't wait for you to get it. The 3/8 is shipping now. Obviously, when we do these, we get a bunch of orders, so give us a little bit of leeway on time here. It'll probably take us a couple weeks to finish all orders, and then get in on the pre-sale, because those will be super discounted. I'll have bundle packs where you can get each size, or you can get 3 of each different size, something like that. So head over to Cam Tools, grab those plug cutters too. We only got about 307 of those, so they're gonna go quick. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your support so much, and we have so much cool stuff to show you. So stay safe in the shop and have a wonderful day.